Chapter 7 of Drona Parva, the Chakra Vyuha and Abhimanyu. The 13th day of the great war dawned. It was the third day of the leadership of Dronacharya. Early in the morning, the Trigartas came and challenged Arjuna. He had to proceed towards the southern side of the field. After he had left, the commander of the Kaurava army arranged his army in the formation called Chakra Vyuha or the Padma Vyuha. The heart of the flower was the king. The many petals were the several heroes of the Kaurava army. Duryodhana was placed at the center, the very heart of the flower. He was surrounded by the first layer of petals, Radeya, Dushasana, Kripa and some others. The next layer was made up of Jayadratha and his immense army. By his side was the son of the Acharya, Ashwattama. Then came the many sons of Dhritarashtra. Then came Shakuni, Kritavarma, Shalya, Bhurishravas and his brother Sala. They were all wearing red silks. They had red flower garlands. In the light of the morning sun, the army looked just like a huge, big lotus which had bloomed on the ground. Drona stood on the outskirts of the Vyuha. The attack began. Bhima led his army. With him were Satyaki, Drishtadyumna, Drupada, Kunti Bhoja, Kshatradharma, Brihat Kshatrra, Drishtaketu, the son of Sishupala, Nakula, Kathodgaja, Sahadeva, Yudhamanyu, Uthamanjus, Shikhandi, the sons of Draupadi, Virata, Yudhishthira, the Kekeya brothers, and many others. They attacked the Padma Vyuha in a body. Drona, however, was stationed at the outside of the Vyuha. He looked like a range of mountains buffeted by the breakers of the surging ocean. They could do nothing. The Pandava heroes were warded off by Drona, who was riding a chariot drawn by chestnut-colored horses. There was nothing to be done. The Pandava army began to melt at an alarmingly fast rate, and not one of them could enter the Vyuha. Yudhishthira did not know what was to be done. He was afraid that the entire army would be destroyed by the time evening drew. If only Arjuna had been there, it would have been so different. But he had gone away to the south end of the field. They did not know when he would return. Shusharma was very angry with Arjuna, and he was bent on fighting till the end of the last man in his army. There was only one thing to be done. Their only hope was Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, the beautiful, charming child of Subhadra. He had been taught the technique of breaking the Padma Vyuha by Arjuna. Yudhishthira knew this. He decided to place on those young shoulders the great task of breaking into the Padma Vyuha. Yudhishthira called his dear nephew to him and said, "My dear child, we have to do things in such a way as to escape the scolding of Arjuna. If he comes back and sees our army is destroyed, he will blame me for not doing the right thing. This Vyuha of Drona is now impregnable. 4 people know how to break it up: Krishna, Pradyumna his son, Arjuna and you. I do not know a 5th. They are all not here. I request you, my child, to help us. You are my only hope. Please do the needful and break the Vyuha." Abhimanyu pondered for a moment. He smiled a sweet smile and said, "Of course, I will do it, uncle. I am worried about only one thing. My father has taught me only one half of it. He has taught me how to enter the Vyuha, but he has not yet taught me how to come out of it. If I get caught up inside this huge lotus, if danger assails me inside this, I will not be able to come out of it. I am worried only about that. I can easily break into it." Yudhishthira said, "I do not think we need worry about that. Once an opening is made in the Vyuha by you, my child, we will do the rest. We will all follow you very closely. The moment you make an opening into it, we will be there to follow you and break up the formation." Bhima said, My child, I will follow you closely. With me will be Drishtadyumna, Satyaki, the Kekayas, Panchalas, the great Prahadrakas, and the Matsyas. Once the opening is made by you, it will only be a matter of a few moments before the Vyuha is shattered by us. Abhimanyu was very happy that he had been asked to undertake such a great task. His eyes flashed with joy. He was a very handsome young man, but today he looked like the full moon with all its beauty and all its glory. He looked as though a divine light was suffusing him. He was glowing. There was no one like him. Yudhishthira looked with pride and affection at the son of Arjuna, who was as glorious as his father. Abhimanyu said, I am sure I will be able to do this today. You will see the Kauravas being burnt up by me like moths that fall against a flame. I will today bring lasting fame to the two families, the house of the Kurus and the house of the Vrishnis. I will make my father proud of me. I will make my uncle proud of me. I will make my mother feel that she is the mother of the noblest hero that fought on the great field of Kurukshetra. Today, my valor will be such that no one will forget it. After today, no one can utter my name without their eyes being lit up with admiration for me. Let the Kauravas see me in action today. Yudhishthira said, May your words come true. May the gods above make this task of yours successful. I am sending all the great heroes on our side to protect you. They are like Rudra and the sun combined. God bless you, my child. Bring glory to the name of Arjuna and Krishna. Abhimanyu saluted his uncles and set out on the dangerous mission entrusted to him. He was sure of his success. His father had taught him the method of breaking up this Padma Vyuha. He knew the trick of entering it. The Vyuha had a knack of closing up as soon as someone entered it. His father had warned him about it. That was the only thing that ought to worry him. But then his uncles and the others were there to take care that the petals of the lotus did not close up and trap him as a real lotus traps the bee that comes to it for honey. There was absolutely no need to worry. He did not know how to come out of the Vyuha, but then the Vyuha would be destroyed by the others in a short time. The charioteer of Abhimanyu was ready. He ascended it. His banner was the Ko-Vidra. Abhimanyu stood in his chariot and turned his smiling eyes on all his uncles. They were proud of the young son of Arjuna. They all stood aside to let him pass. They all saw the chariot going fast towards the terrible Padma Vyuha guarded by Drona. All of them now followed him in their chariots. It was a grand procession. Quick, quick, said Abhimanyu to his charioteer. Take me quickly to the Kaurava army. I am impatient to break this Vyuha of Drona. I must do it before the army of my uncle is destroyed. I must hurry. The charioteer was worried. His voice was grave when he heard the words of the young man. He said, I do not like to take you there. I feel that the Pandavas have placed too big a burden on your young shoulders. You should set about a task only after making sure that you will be able to do it. This sinful Brahmin, this Drona, is a past master in the handling of astras. You are still a child and he is a veteran. I am feeling very nervous. I do not like your going. Abhimanyu laughed at his charioteer and his words. He said, I am looking forward to this encounter with the great Drona. He is so sure of himself that it will be a pleasure to undermine his smug complacency. Why are you nervous? Why fear about my safety? I am the son of Arjuna. I am the nephew of Krishna. I can defy Indra, the Lord of the heavens. It is nothing to me to fight this Drona. All the warriors on the opposite side put together cannot equal me. How can fear approach the son of Arjuna? I will burn the entire army of the Kauravas. I will not call myself the son of the great Arjuna and Subhadra if I do not succeed in routing the army of the Kauravas. The charioteer was silent. Very unwillingly, he coaxed the horses to carry them towards the formidable Padma Vyuha, the triumph of Drona. Chapter 8 of Drona Parva. Jayadratha is formidable. The chariot of Abhimanyu flashed towards the Vyuha like a streak of lightning. If it had not been for the banner, which was different, people would have thought that it was Arjuna who was hurrying towards the enemy army. The two armies clashed. The son of Arjuna, the handsome Abhimanyu, broke up the entrance to the Vyuha. He did something which was beyond the ken of human beings. The great Padma Vyuha, which was considered to be unbreakable, was opened by Abhimanyu under the very eyes of Drona. Breaking it, he entered the Vyuha. There was panic in the Kaurava army. The great son of Arjuna, the 16-year-old Abhimanyu, had managed to break the phalanx. He had outwitted the old man Drona. Abhimanyu faced the combined onslaught of many chariots and warriors at the same time. But he was death itself. He was just raining arrows on them, literally raining arrows. The field took up the aspect it usually presented at the end of the day. The heap of dead men rose every moment. The Kauravas looked in all the 10 directions for help. It was impossible to stop the progress of this child. Duryodhana was the first to attack Abhimanyu. He was wild with him for having broken the Vyuha. Drona saw this and came to the help of the king. He knew that it would be dangerous for Duryodhana to face Abhimanyu. Drona, Ashwatthama, Kripa, Kritavarma, Radeya and Shakuni hurried to the side of Duryodhana. Actually, the king was at the very heart of the Vyuha, but Abhimanyu had managed to reach it in a matter of moments. All the heroes attacked Abhimanyu. He revelled in the fight. He was undaunted. The others joined up now. Bhurishravas, Dushasana and the other brothers of the king. They had absolutely no chance. Radeya was hurt terribly by the arrows of Abhimanyu. Most of them had to beat a hasty retreat. They were powerless to stop Abhimanyu's progress. Shalya and Radeya with some of the Kaurava heroes were still fighting. Radeya was made to fall on the ground. He got up and fought again. Shalya was faring badly in his fight. In short, there was no one who could stand up against Abhimanyu. Indeed, he was the son of Arjuna. Single-handed, he was keeping the entire army at bay. All the heroes who had been stationed to protect the Vyuha were being treated as so many bits of wood by the young Abhimanyu. The smile did not leave the face of the child when he was harassed by the many warriors. The nephew of Krishna outshone his father and his uncle in his valor. It is no exaggeration to say that he was killing the enemies by thousands. He had all the astras at his command and he was using them all. He was a very graceful and skillful fighter. His archery was in a class by itself. They saw it. The arrows which came from his bow looked like the rays of the sun coming out in millions. Drona was watching his progress. He told Kripa, Abhimanyu ranks amongst the greatest archers. He has come here today to please his uncles, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadeva. If he makes up his mind, he can destroy this entire army easily. I am surprised that he has not done so already. Duryodhana was not pleased with the words of Drona. Drona praised the enemy and he did not relish it. The enemy was the son of Arjuna, the favored pupil of Drona. Duryodhana looked at Radeya and said, Radeya, this Savaracharya is a great man. Not Indra nor Yama can defy him in the battle. Why then think of the fate of mere mortals? If he makes up his mind, he can kill this young fool. But, Radeya, you forget the most important secret. Abhimanyu is the son of his dear beloved pupil Arjuna. Since our Acharya is very fond of Arjuna, he is protecting Abhimanyu. He has not the heart to hurt him or to wound him. Sure of this partiality of Drona, this young man is coursing through our army with so much confidence. I can see it clearly. I can easily explain the courage of Abhimanyu. Dushasana was impressed by the words of Duryodhana. He came forward and said, "You are right. It is no use depending on our Acharya to kill Abhimanyu. I will kill him now. I will cover him as Rahu does the sun." Hearing that Abhimanyu is dead, Krishna and Arjuna will lose their arrogance. They will die with the sorrow of his death. With their death, the Pandavas will all die. Because of the death of this one person, all the Pandavas can be killed. I will please you, my lord, by doing this service to you. He went to the presence of Abhimanyu and challenged him. The fight lasted a few moments, and Dushasana was found fleeing for dear life. He was replaced by Radeya. He suffered the same fate, though the fight lasted longer. All the heroes on the side of the Pandavas were following the chariot of Abhimanyu from the moment he left their camp. They were able to keep up with him until he entered the Vyuha. They were Yudhishthira, Bhima, Shikhandi, Satyaki, Drupada, Drishtadyumna, Virata, Nakula, Sahadeva, the Kekayas and the Drishtaketu. They were all almost accompanying Abhimanyu. Just at the entrance of the Vyuha, Abhimanyu turned round his chariot and looked at them with a beautiful smile lighting up his face. That was the last of him they saw. They tried to follow the disappearing chariot of the young child who smilingly took leave of them. They were stopped by Jayadratha. Bhima laughed at Jayadratha. He remembered the time when Jayadratha had carried away Draupadi. He had been well punished by Arjuna and himself. This Jayadratha had now the audacity to challenge the progress of the Pandavas. Yudhishthira and Satyaki attacked Jayadratha. He withstood their attack. He was able to tackle all of them. He would not let them advance even by a hairbreadth. He sealed up the opening which had been made by Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was going further into Vyuha. He was going further and still further away from them. And they could do nothing because of this dreadful Jayadratha, who seemed to be winning by fluke. Yudhishthira cut his bow into two, but Jayadratha took up another bow and continued to fight. Bhima cut up that bow and his banner too. That did not stop Jayadratha. He laughed and took up another bow. He killed the horses of Bhima's chariot, and his bow was cut too. Jayadratha had obtained a boon from Shankara that he would be able to defy the Pandavas single-handed, provided Arjuna and Krishna were not there. He was therefore able to keep the Pandavas from entering the Vyuha along with Abhimanyu. They fought furiously and desperately, since everything that was dear to them was at stake. Jayadratha would not let them enter. He had sealed up the entrance to the Vyuha and was keeping guard over it. The Pandavas were overcome with horror of the situation. They remembered the thoughtful look on the face of Abhimanyu when he said, "If I get caught up inside this lotus, if danger assails me there, inside this, I will not be able to come out of it. I am worried about the afterwards." Yudhishthira was horror-stricken at his own thoughtlessness in sending the child. Depending on the strength of all of them, the son of Arjuna had entered the jaws of death. Now they were helpless against the power of Jayadratha, of all men. Once the opening is made by you, it will be a matter of a few moments before the Vyuha is shattered by us, Bhima had said. He looked at Yudhishthira with such anguish in his eyes that even the gods in the heavens wept. Shri Krishna Arpanamasthu. Chapter 9 of Drona Parva, the killing of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was continuing his work of destruction inside the Vyuha. The army was losing hopes of living through the day. It was not possible to estimate the loss to the Kaurava army. Abhimanyu was mowing it down so fast and so steadily that Duryodhana was quite desperate. Ruk Maratha, a son of Shalya, challenged Abhimanyu. He was a good fighter. The duel was interesting to watch, but Abhimanyu killed him. Other sons of Shalya came to the presence of Abhimanyu. They were all carried away from the fields as they fainted in their chariots, unable to bear the arrows of Abhimanyu. Everyone who came to fight with Abhimanyu had to run or die. Seeing his valor, Drona, Ashwatthama, Kripa, Brihadbala, the king of the Kosalas, Duryodhana, Radeya, Kritavarma and Shakuni came to fight with him. Lakshana Kumara, the son of Duryodhana, challenged Abhimanyu. Both were young and both were handsome. Both were very powerful fighters and an excellent duel was fought. But in a few moments, under the watching eyes of Duryodhana, Lakshana Kumara was killed by Abhimanyu. Duryodhana was shocked and grieved by the sudden tragedy. He shouted, "This sinner has got to be killed." It was then that the horrible, cruel tragedy took shape. 6 great men took part in it. Drona, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Radeya, Brihadbala and Kritavarma together attacked Abhimanyu. He fought with all of them and he attacked Jayadratha also. The child must have realized that the Pandavas could not enter the Vyuha along with him because of Jayadratha. He did not know the way out. He wanted to destroy the entire Vyuha and thus avoid that problem. There would be no Vyuha at all. He fought desperately with Jayadratha. If Jayadratha could be defeated, the way was clear for the Pandava warriors. But Jayadratha blocked the passage of Abhimanyu with an array of elephants and a huge army. Abhimanyu looked like the newly risen sun, surrounded by dense black rain clouds. He now fought furiously with all the 6 Maharatikas. They harassed him with their weapons, but they were all defeated. Abhimanyu was able to make them go back. They were not able to fight with him. He had killed their horses. Their bows were gone and their chariots too. They tried again and again to meet his onslaught. Abhimanyu hurt Radeya with his terrible arrows. He was attacked by Ashwatthama, Kripa and Drona. Shalya and Brihadbala joined these men. Abhimanyu sent a sharp arrow towards Brihadbala. He fell down dead, his heart torn by the arrow of Abhimanyu. Radeya's body was covered by blood. The son of Dushasana came to challenge Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu said, "I am glad to see that you are a better fighter than your father." He ran away from the fight. "You seem to be braver than the coward." Ashwatthama came to the help of the son of Dushasana. Shakuni went to the king and said, "It is not possible to kill this young man. It is not possible to stop his progress. He has got to be killed. Let us all kill him together." Radeya went to Drona and said, "The son of Arjuna is bent on killing all of us. Please make haste and tell us how he can be killed. Either he has to be killed or we all have to die. I am standing here because it is my duty to be with my king, or else I would go away from here. These arrows of Abhimanyu are burning my entire body." Drona said, "There is no one to equal the son of my Arjuna. Hurt as I am by his arrows, I cannot help admiring his skill and valor. If he is to be killed, his armor has to be broken. Arjuna has taught him to wear this impenetrable armor. That is why he is able to withstand our arrows. So long as he has his chariot, so long as he has his bow in his hand, he is invincible. If you want to kill him, you must kill his 2 charioteers. You must destroy his chariot. You must deprive him of his bow. If you can do all this, then perhaps you may be able to kill him. Let me see if you can do it. Cut the string of his bow when he is not looking. You cannot do it if you are facing him." Drona stopped talking and Radeya walked away. The meanest act in his entire life was then performed by the man Radheya. When the child Abhimanyu was fighting, Radheya went to him. He stood behind Abhimanyu and cut his bow with his arrows. The startled young warrior turned around to see who could have done such a dastardly thing. Drona at once killed the horses of Abhimanyu's chariot. Kripa killed the two charioteers of Abhimanyu. The others attacked him with their arrows. These were Kritavarma, Ashwatthama, and Dushasana's son. 6 of the Maharatikas attacked this single warrior. Abhimanyu did not have a chariot. He did not have a bow. The defenseless child was attacked by the 6 heroes on the side of the Kauravas. Abhimanyu's eyes were red with fury and contempt. He looked at Drona and said, "You are a great man. You are the commander of the Kaurava army. You have done this injustice to me. How dare you do this?" Abhimanyu turned towards Radheya and said, "You call yourself a disciple of Bhargava? You dare to think that you are equal to my father in archery? I thought that you at least were capable of noble thoughts. My uncle has said that you are a noble man, that you are a chivalrous fighter. So this is all your nobility? You are all men whose names are spoken with affection and awe because of your valor. Is this all the valor you are capable of? How is it the earth does not open up and swallow you? How can she bear the shame of bearing people like you?" Abhimanyu had no time to think. He had to fight. He took his sword and shield and jumped out of his chariot. He jumped at them with the intention of killing them. Drona saw him and his fury. With his sharp arrows he cut the hilt of the sword of Abhimanyu. Radheya shot his arrows at the shield of the young child and broke it to pieces. Young Abhimanyu was now without a bow, without a chariot, without a sword, without a shield. He was absolutely defenseless and completely at the mercy of 6 cruel men who are bent on killing him. For a moment, Abhimanyu thought of his father. He was sorry only about one thing. He would not be able to see the pride in the eyes of his father when he heard about his wonderful feat. He thought of his mother, the beautiful Subhadra. His thoughts were sad. He knew that her heart would be broken. He thought of Krishna. It was just his bad luck that he could not see his father and his uncle before he died. Yudhishthira and Bhima came to his mind eye. Poor uncles, they tried their best to come to him, but they could not. Jayadratha was in their way. Yes, Jayadratha. His father would kill that man Jayadratha when he came to know about this. Yudhishthira would be horrified at the crime committed on the Kurukshetra field. But then, when the time came, his death would be avenged. These 6 heroes would regret their cowardly attack on him. Abhimanyu was helpless. He rushed to his chariot and took the wheel of the chariot in his 2 hands. He whirled it about his head. With his form full of the arrows of his enemies, with his frame drenched in blood, with his face glowing with anger and sheer contempt and pride, the young warrior stood there in their midst with the chariot wheel in his hand, looking like the Lord Vishnu. He said, "Even now it is not too late. I am giving you all a chance to redeem your honor. Come and fight with me. Come one by one, I will fight with you. Come one by one, I can fight with each one of you. Come." Even as he was saying this, Abhimanyu rushed at Drona. He looked like Vishnu himself with a wheel in his hands. His hair was flying in the breeze. His face had taken on an unearthly glow. He was the most wonderful sight as he stood there, with a smile on his lips, with a wheel upraised. Even before he could fling it on Drona, the 6 of them broke that wheel into 100 fragments. Abhimanyu now took up the mace. He said once again, "Come on, come one by one. Yes, one by one. I can fight all of you if you come one by one." His words fell on deaf ears. Abhimanyu rushed at Ashwatthama. Terrified at the sight of Abhimanyu advancing like the god of death, Ashwatthama ran away from his neighborhood. Abhimanyu killed the horses of Ashwatthama. He rushed towards the chariot of the son of Dushasana. He broke his chariot. Dushasana's son leaped at Abhimanyu with his mace raised aloft. The two were engaged in a fight for life. Abhimanyu had become completely fatigued by the terrible fighting of the day. He did not mind it. He fought desperately. Each was bent on killing the other. When he saw Abhimanyu fall down, the son of Dushasana rushed at him. Abhimanyu was recovering from his faint. He was just about to rise. Then the son of Dushasana raised his mace and hit Abhimanyu on the head. Abhimanyu fell down again, not being able to stand the force of the stroke. He fell down, never to rise again. Abhimanyu was killed. Abhimanyu was killed most treacherously by the brave warriors on the side of the Kauravas. 6 great warriors dared to commit this most dastardly crime on the holy field called Kurukshetra. Drona, the commander of the Kaurava host, proved himself to be as sinful and treacherous as the king for whom he fought. The son of Drona, Ashwatthama, the son born by the grace of Shankara, was party to the murder of a child of 16. It was a crime, the like of which had never been committed before. Arjuna's beautiful son was lying dead, and these men danced around the dead form of that hero like animals, like beasts without any feelings. No, a beast would have been more sympathetic. They were monsters. Abhimanyu was killed by 6 great heroes on the side of the Kauravas. He had churned the army of the Kauravas like a whale which churns the sea. They looked on him as he lay on the battlefield with his beautiful face like the moon on the eastern hill, with his lotus eyes closed, with his form full of the arrows that had been shot at him. There was great joy in their hearts. They shouted for joy. The cry was taken up by the others, and the army resounded with their war cry, their cry of victory. The cry struck terror into the heart of Yudhishthira and Bhima. They knew at once that Abhimanyu was killed. The thought of the young child as he stood in his chariot, smiling at them, made Yudhishthira fall down in a faint. They were not prepared for this calamity. In the absence of Arjuna and Krishna, this grave injustice had been done, and the Pandava host did not know what they were to tell Arjuna when he came back from the fight with the Trigartas. The sun had set. The Kauravas had returned to their camp with great joy at the death of Abhimanyu, and the Pandava camp was sunk in the lowest depths of despair. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.